Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Yep, we're all getting older, and so are our pets. And when our pets, dog, cat, get older, there's changes that maybe we don't understand. We're going to look at that today. Understanding the aging process in dogs, but also this applies to many of our pets. And she is somebody that's got a lot of experience in that, especially in the rehab aspect. She is the woman behind Canine Physical Rehabilitation in New Mexico. Dr. Laura Hady joins us once again. Welcome back, Laura. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And today I really just want to talk about helping our pets age gracefully.
We want them to be as happy as possible. We can't necessarily ask them, what do you need and what are you feeling? So that presents a layer of challenge, but a lot of this comes down to the same thing, right? Mobility, quality of life. I'm going to think what probably should dive right into arthritis. We get it as humans, but it seems to be very prevalent in dogs. Is that what you find?
Yes, we find that as well. And we basically dogs can shift their weight around because they walk on four limbs, whereas we're basically put a lot of stress through our knees, our ankles, and our hips. And so they can have the wear and tear on their joints, whether it's due to a growth deformity, they grew too fast as puppies or as kittens. And it can also be just the wear and tear. We have to think of the joint in our body. So if we look at the knee, for example, or the hip, and that joint itself is a nice little microenvironment. So we have that hyaline cartilage in there that's nice, smooth. You could skate on it. It keeps the pressure off the in between the bones, say our big leg bone, the femur, and the tibia. And so it's a shock absorber as well that can, and it has fluid in there. And that fluid should be nice and viscous, like you could skate on it, like a
Wow.
skate. So we have to think of it as a nice, rich chicken broth versus when it turns into ugly black bean soup because it's got all these painful chemicals in it. And when you get wear and tear on the joints and abnormal movement, the body lays down more bone and more capsule, and so it doesn't move as well. And instead of that beautiful hyaline cartilage that doesn't have pain receptors, we get the potholes in there called fibrocartilage, and they have pain receptors, and they're kind of like, it's like the B team cartilage, and it just doesn't move as well. And so more bone, more capsule develops with this abnormal wear causing pain, and the dog is unable to move as much.
How do we know that our dog is going through arthritis? A lot of us take it for granted and we just open the door and let them run and play and figure, yeah, they know what they got to do. But sometimes it's not that, right?
So it may be something as simple as they have a hard time getting up or down from the floor. It may be that they don't want to go as long on walks anymore. It may be they can't jump
Mm.
in the car or jump on the bed. If we think of the spine as just one big series of joints, their tail may not wag. They may kind of favor take the weight off one limb versus the other limb. And so therefore you may see a secondary change such as muscle atrophy where one leg looks bigger than the other.
Do you think of many people when the dog doesn't want to jump up on the bed, we're thinking, yeah, they're just lazy, they're not into it, and we might not realize that it could be a condition.
Right. And so probably one of the best things is to talk to your veterinarian, because oftentimes we'll be doing that annual exam and we'll say, how's that dog moving at home? You know, you can kind of see them move a little bit in the exam room, but I rely on the owners and I start asking them questions. Um,
Mm.
are they comfortable at night? Are they sleeping through the night? Are they, like we said, having issues getting in and out of the car or up and down off the bed? Or do they have a harder time walking on slick surfaces?
What about exercise? Should we actually exercise our animals on a regular basis, regardless of even us sensing that there might be a chronic condition? Again, a lot of times we just take it for granted that they're just going to run and do whatever they're going to do. Should we be intentional about their exercise?
Yes, we should be very intentional about their exercise, meaning that they we can't take them on those 7 mile hikes anymore, but we need to get them out every day, whether that be for 20 minutes just out in the open air, and let them use, if they have arthritis in just one of their limbs, let them use those other three limbs and let the body start to move. Sometimes it's like us when we first wake up with arthritis. We're sore, we're tender on the limb. Sometimes as we start to walk and start to warm up our muscles, then we tend to move a little bit better.
Hmm. Uh, when it comes to a senior dog, what do you consider a senior?
Generally, I consider a senior starting in a very large breed dog, such as a Great Dane or even a Labrador Retriever or German Shepherd, right around the age of around 7. So that's when you're starting to get, we hope it's middle age, we want all our animals to live to 14 in those larger breeds, but in reality, for those breeds, it's 7. Now, when I'm talking about a Chihuahua or a Dachshund, a Yorkie or a Poodle, I may consider that around age 10.
Okay, gotcha. Um, Modifications for the living environment. So we know that our dog is older. We see him slowing down a little bit, but maybe not to the point where there is a chronic condition or one that we detect. How should we change our environment? And if we do know that there's an issue, how does that look as well?
So the main thing, like I discussed earlier, is they may start slipping on our tile or our wood floors. So that's
Uh,
an indication not only of arthritis, weakness, but it could be a neurologic condition as well. So in our house, we lay out carpet runners, and you can buy cheap carpet squares, at something as simple as the Dollar Tree store. And we also, ask owners, hey, can we trim your dog's nails today? Because these long nails may be causing problems and you're hearing clicking and they're uncomfortable for the dogs, and their dogs aren't just wearing down their nails anymore. We may even have the dog wear booties or something called Dr. Busby's toe grips to help them get up and get grip to be able to stand up to go to their food bowl, for example. The
hmm.
other thing we can do is we can provide nice orthopedic beds. And if the animal's used to that and they don't want to just go and sleep on that tile and wood floor like they do here in hot New Mexico, making sure they're comfortable, and we take the stress off the joints and the muscle tissues. You can take off, even just with carpet, having them lay on carpet, you can take off 30% of the pressure of their joints. So you can imagine what a nice orthopedic bed will do for that animal. A lot of natural light for the older animals. I'll play music for them, aromatherapy, you name it, within the home environment to make it easier to get around. You have these nice, beautiful dog stairs, and I can discuss that at length, and in ramps, which will work for your dog. You can't just expect an animal who's never used a ramp or dog stairs to just want to use it to get up on the bed or in and out of the car. So there's tricks associated with that.
Aside from those physical things, you mentioned music. Does that really, those things make a difference?
I do. As our animals age, they may have anxiety as we leave. And so I'll often leave. We have a radio station my dogs like, and it could be anything from classical to country to rock, just depending on what your animal's used to. And I think it soothes them in a sense. When we do certain exercises, we do this standing hula weave. So we attach hula hoops and have them stand up, and we'll have the dogs weave in and out of the hula hoops. And we actually do it to the Bee Gees Staying Alive, because not only can you do CPR to it at 104 beats per minute, it also makes a great weaving song. And or I'll tell animal clients, if they're walking their dog or using the balance board, the average song lasts 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and you may use that as just an indication. It used to be TV commercials. Sometimes those get a little short nowadays, but the music part, I think, is stimulating. It makes me happy, and I think my dogs are happy with it too.
Yeah, I mean, just picture Staying Alive by the Bee Gees and working with your dog. And yes, just to your point, they identified that the number of beats within that song is perfect for performing CPR. Just it,
Mhm.
yeah, heard that
Yeah,
too. Yeah.
right. So, and we even do, when we do circle step overs, I say that's a 4/4 beat because you're going 1, 2, 3, 4 as you circle around. When you do something like a weave, it's a 2-step. And I always say, like Amarillo by morning, up from San Antonio, a perfect 2-step, a country 2-step. And then we do weaving on and off of curbs, and we'll do a waltz. Dun, 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 dun. So 3 steps on, 3 steps off.
Wow.
And that plays a lot into them being happy and me doing better with the exercise.
Sure, sure. And it's also the energy you put in. You're going to be, or the pet's person, if you will, is going to get more excited and more into it when you have a rhythm, and that comes from the music. I'm going to get into I want to talk about nutrition and supplements in a moment, but before we get there, along with the music, you mentioned aromatherapy, and I'm just hearing that can make a pretty big difference in the comfort of your animal. What can you tell us?
There was actually a study done where they used lavender to help calm dogs in stressful situations, and they tested their stress hormone cortisol, and they actually found that the smell of lavender does help decrease stress in dogs. I always say too, if your dog is used to a certain smell, because as we age, our vision and our hearing may decrease, the same with dogs, but their sense of smell sticks around. And so if the smell of turkey in the oven makes them happy, so be it. The same thing with us, as we like, cinnamon or vanilla or those types of smells. And there's lots of different aromatherapy out there, products for animals to use in your air diffuser.
Hmm. I know that their caution needs to be used with this, but I've heard recently also that you can use uh, essential oils on your animal. Um, I don't know if you've heard that. I'd like to know.
Yeah, you really need a certified veterinary practitioner to really be doing certain oils. We have to remember these are volatile organic compounds, and so things like eucalyptus may actually sting the dog. Wintergreen and peppermint can sometimes, birch oil can be toxic to a dog.
Sure.
Typically in our household, I don't put much on unless I know exactly what the dog needs. And so we typically stick, even in our air diffuser, we may have citrus is usually a safe type of smell to stick with. But applying on the skin, you got to think it might burn as it goes on the skin, and therefore you've taken away from what the animal needs. Also, if it's in a cream formulation or an oil formulation, that animal may lick that, or if they have a skin problem underlying, that may also contribute to kind of matted hair and sticky skin and whatnot.
Mm. And they're going to be licking it. So you
Mhm.
got to make sure it's safe that way. And also with that, I've also heard that you have to dilute it. It's got to be purely organic, and it
Mhm.
also has to be diluted with a carrier oil because even just one drop is just too strong, but can be beneficial. But yeah,
Mhm.
definitely consult with somebody who can help you along with that. All right. Senior dogs, aging animals, over to nutrition and supplements. What can you tell us?
So if you wanted to get, say, a dog formulation or a diet that would be easy to feed, some of the bigger dog companies such as Purina, Royal Canin, and Hills have joint diets. And specifically, they may incorporate things like omega-3 fatty acids within there. They may actually cut calories. So we decrease the amount of weight on these animals to help keep them at a good weight. They may use antioxidants, things like vitamin C, vitamin E, rosemary oil, um, that may help as far as the process that's involved with arthritis. They may also contain things like glucosamine and chondroitin, which have been touted since the early 2000s as helping with joint lubrication in itself.
Hmm. Um, should we be very particular when it comes to the brands of food. We don't have to drop any names of brands or throw
Mhm.
any under the bus, but the more I hear, a lot of the brands that we normally would trust, names that have been around for decades, might not be the best for your pet. What are your thoughts?
So this is what I tell dog owners. You have to find a brand that's going to work with your dog to keep a healthy weight, to keep them satisfied, to have produce normal stool, and not to cause diarrhea or have side effects with that. And sometimes you would be surprised, at what a dog will eat. I had a dog that my 18-year-old Chihuahua, she wanted this particular grocery store brand and she came with it, and I was always just too afraid to change it, and she did great throughout her life. And then we had two others where we had to keep one on a weight diet and the other on a digestive diet because they had issues. And so we have to find what works for them. Some people, what they'll do is I recommend they get that base diet that's good for their dog, and then if we had to add those nutritional supplements that are good for joints, such as the omega-3 acids in krill oil or green lip mussels or the glucosamine and chondroitin. You can add them separately. I always like to stage the process, so we add one thing at a time to know if it's going to be beneficial for your pet. In my
Hmm.
experience, glucosamine chondroitin based on the product, whether it's a veterinary product or just something you buy at the grocery store, is it going to have the absorption in your animal that's going to be effective? And so that's another thing to look at. And if we do a stepwise approach, we can say, oh, I paid this much for this and it's helped 20%. Is that going to give us a good cost benefit ratio? And is that going to help my dog in other ways?
Hmm. Let's talk about the supplements. Now, you mentioned, I think you said krill oil, so I guess that would come under the category of omega-3 fatty acids. Um, I take fish oil, a premium brand. I'm very particular
Mhm.
about that. Long ago, somebody told me, don't even waste your time, unless it's a quality brand, because of potency and other
Right.
additives and things like that. But for a dog, omega-3, good.
It is good. They've just recently published a study in 2023 looking at the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories versus a krill oil supplement or a krill oil plus green lip muzzle supplement, and even a veterinary branded glucosamine and chondroitin. They even had a placebo group, and it was double-blinded random trial of
Hmm.
75 dogs with just hip arthritis. So just arthritis in that particular joint.
Uh,
And what they found was that the omega-3 fatty acids were on par with the carprofen, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. Not so much on the glucosamine and chondroitin supplement, however, but you can talk to your veterinarian, they can direct you and say, hey, this is what's out there. This is what you might be thinking about with your pet.
Briefly want to go back to nutrition,
Mhm.
food. I found in my dog, and he's like made 23 pounds, very motivated by food,
Right.
as many are. And I've found I feed him one brand. I feel it's reasonable. I also find that sometimes it looks like he gets bored with it. But what I started doing was cutting back on the amount I give him. And now I feel he's hungry and then he'll go for it. Yeah, I want that now. I need that now. Um, Maybe I was feeding him too much. I don't know. But it seems, and it's not like he runs to it like, I need to eat, I'm famished. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna eat now. That's made a difference, but should we occasionally change up the food for our dogs?
Yes, you should. You need to find what works for them, and sometimes you may change with even within a type of brand. And what I always tell people, be real careful and change over very slowly, because when you change a single source of a carbohydrate, say whether you go from corn to rice, or a protein, whether you go from chicken to say lean pork,
Sure.
your body's going to react different to it. So you need to slowly bring on that new food. The other thing that we have to consider is your animal may be at a point where, yes, maybe you were feeding them too much because you were looking at the bag of dog food on the back. And typically, because I've been doing this for so long, I can estimate the calories in a particular type of food. You learn how many calories they have and
Wow.
how much that dog, you do a quick calculation in your mind of how much that dog weighs and how much you should be feeding them. And it's usually less than what's on the back of the dog food brand. And then in our family, what we do is if they're starting to get bored with that, I'll add a nice protein source to top it off, usually canned tuna or chicken or something that's very lean. And it really motivates them to eat their food. I pretty much know what's in canned tuna. I pretty much know what's in chicken or the hamburger that I cook to put on the top as a topper for the
You know,
animal.
I thank you for saying that. I started doing that recently. Occasionally, I get prepared meals from a local place, so I feel they're healthier than, some of the other stuff, and I don't have time to cook.
Right.
And I buy sometimes a pound of chicken, and
Mhm.
it's already been cooked, grilled, ready to go. I add it to salads and everything, and every once in a while, I'll just take some of that and put it on like a topper on top of his food, and it's just, it's a little treat. I feel good
Right.
about it, you
Right.
know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, real brief, any stories that you could share of animals that were aging and you rehab them?
Yeah, so I have one in particular. I always like to talk about my oldest patient. And so
Mm,
I've had so many throughout the years, including my own. But on Thursdays, I typically see a dog called Ski, and she's a 15-year-old standard poodle. And she's quite the old lady now. And she came to me with some issues about getting up and down. She was sliding on the floors. Her mom wanted to keep her strong for her age. And basically, she had been diagnosed at her family veterinarian with arthritis in her spine, causing some
wow.
impaired movement about knowing where her feet are in space. She also has decreased vision. That's a big one I see. The owners are like, I think they have arthritis. They're not doing this. And I'm like, let me look in their eyes and see if their vision's decreased. So she has some decreased vision issues when we go to do new objects. She also has some liver enzyme elevation, so we have to watch what medications that she's on. And she has something called laryngeal paralysis, which has to do with her cervical disc issues, and that her larynx, which helps us breathe, doesn't open and close properly due to nerve problems. And that can be accentuated by inhaling allergies. So it's like,
Wow.
okay, this dog's got a lot going on. How can we solve this dog's problems? And she is on. She comes and does her exercises. We have lean turkey as a motivator. She loves doing her step over. She loves going through dog tunnels. At her age, we take collapsible leaf bags and we cut out the thing, and that's about as tunnel as she's going to get. And she loves her balance beam and her wobble board, and she really gets going. Her medication regimen used to be a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. We recently had to move her over to a steroid for better movement and less problems with her GI tract as far as vomiting and diarrhea. And it's a super low dose, mind you. I know we all get scared when we say the word steroid.
Right.
And she's also on gabapentin, which helps nerve pain. And she takes doxepin, which is for her cough and her laryngeal paralysis. It's also an old human antidepressant, and they're looking at using antidepressants to help with pain in dogs. She is not on an opioid at this time, which I'm very happy about. And she also takes some nutritional supplements. She's on a very good diet, one of those home prepared diets, as well as some dry kibble. And when she does get stomach upset, we have a whole list of bland diets we can rotate through for her mom to cook. And she's
Wow.
also on probiotics and prebiotics. So probiotics are bacteria. Live cultures are always best for us and for animals. And prebiotics, things to feed those bacteria that run our bodies, that may help us with our moods. It may help us with being calm as we age, and may help us definitely get around a little bit better. And so
Mm.
we have to feed our bugs, I say, every day. So Ski gets her bugs fed every
Oh,
day.
she sounds like she's living the life.
She is living the life. She has
Yeah.
a Hallmark harness to get in and out of the car and around the house. She has a diaper and when she goes out in public because she's getting to be a little incontinent, and she's a winner all the way through.
Love it. Thank you for that. That just demonstrates if you put the effort in and a little extra care, yeah, they'll be happier and maybe around a little bit longer. How do we learn more, Laura? I know you're in New Mexico, and that's where you do your thing in terms of rehab, but anywhere anybody can just reach out to you, they have a question about their pets?
Yeah, so my email address is k9profnm@gmail.com, and or you can text me at 505-280-5962. And sometimes I can answer your questions. Sometimes I can text you a study or
Sure.
some additional information. Sometimes we can talk about simple things at home like heat, cold, massage, how you massage your animals to make them feel better, just generally, and go from there.
Love it. Your website, what's that?
I don't have a website.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
Yeah, but I can get you some testimonials if you need to see that.
So Canine, letter K, number 9, PROFNM, like New Mexico, like professional PROFNM at gmail.com, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Laura, thanks for being here. Thanks for all the insight. And I love how you love helping animals and their people too. Appreciate it.
All righty. Keeps me going every day. Take care,
Yep,
Steve.
that's your purpose. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.